Something you are going to spend a bit more time on, though, is right now we're in a pretty good state if you care about Linux gaming. So, obviously, we've had Proton for a long time. Before that, we had the original Steam machines. After Proton, we got the Steam Deck. Now we have the Steam machines. Obviously, there's not a problem with the machines. It's just they exist in a terrible market. But when it comes to game clients, the only general client. Yeah, I don't think any of the others. The only general client, so a client that is for more than just like a single game or like a single company, the only one we currently have on Linux is Steam. Now, there is unofficial support for the others. So if you want to do Epic Games, for example, or GOG, a lot of people make use of the Heroic Games launcher. And to the best of my knowledge, it's a great project. I don't really use it that often because I don't really play games on either of those platforms. But traditionally, they have not had support on Linux. Now, I say general platforms because obviously we have various individual launchers, right? Like the Minecraft launcher is officially supported on Linux, even though a lot of people do use a third-party launcher. I believe OSRS, Old School RuneScape, is going to officially support Linux. Again, even though we were using third-party launchers anyway, so it's not like you actually need it to be there. But I do care about the official support because having official support means that the company actually cares about the platform. It's not, we're not going to stop you. You can play the games on Linux if you want to. But if you have official support, that means at the very least, they are willing to put engineer effort towards it. And if they're willing to put engineer effort towards it, at the very least, they put some level of value in the platform, if nothing else, just so they have a presence in case something happens. So you might recall from the other week that GOG Galaxy is coming to Linux. Now, the thing about that, where is the gaming on Linux? There it is. Here it is. So this one is from last month. They announced they're working on a client. Now, the reason why I don't put too much stock in this one is they did announce they were working on a client also about a decade ago. That client never came out. I believe it was with the original GOG Galaxy. Then when Galaxy 2.0 came out, they dropped the plan or dropped any mention of it. Now with the new old owner, so the co-founder of the company, rebought the company, is now the owner of the company. The whole mess there. Now with that, he basically said, I care about Linux. I'm going to bring it over to Linux now. When that's going to happen, we don't know. We've not seen any screenshots, any sort of indication of it running or anything else like that. So again, we will see if and when that happens. However, there is another platform that also appears to be working on support. The Epic Games Store. So, it says confirmed. My understanding is this was just a message from an engineer on Discord. Is there something I missed here? I think it might just be people over-exaggerating. That's what I'm seeing. It confirmed according to that article that is linking to the tweet. Not very useful. According to PC Guide. What is PC Guide's source for this? Yeah, okay. Okay. So, once again, it's not actually officially confirmed. It is one engineer on the official Discord that said they are working on it. Okay, so, again, people are just taking it to mean more than what is actually said. We've not seen any press release, any demo of it running. Right now, this is the entirety of the source. It's a post on the Discord. But they haven't pushed back on that. Now, the interesting thing here is, I was going to say Tim Apple. No, no, wrong Tim. Tim Sweeney. Tim Sweeney, that's the one. That's the Epic guy. Tim Epic. Tim Sweeney. That's Epic. Yes, that is Tim Epic. Okay. we're just going to call him Tim Epic. Tim Epic has said on many, many occasions that Fortnite is not coming to Linux. And that's been basically because the way that anti-cheat works on Linux, it works in user space, it really easy to circumvent, but it would be very weird if Epic Games came to, like the Epic Games Store came to Linux and your premier game, like your tech demo, the game that is Epic Games, did not also come to Linux. Now, again, there has been no confirmation of this, no statement about this. Tim Sweeney, Tim Epic has said absolutely nothing about this. Like, you can just scroll through his Twitter and you'll see absolutely nothing in regards to this. But it would be very weird. Now, would I play Fortnite if it was on Linux? No, I don't give a shit about Fortnite. When Fortnite became popular, I already was on Linux. I've never played a game of Fortnite. I'd probably be terrible at Fortnite because I am not a 13-year-old that is about to OD on Adderall. So it's not exactly a game for me. However, it would be very nice to see because this is one of those major blockers that some people have, right? There are some things where, there are needs and there are wants. And sometimes the overlap between them is kind of loose. And for a lot of people, the want of having a certain game, a certain piece of software, is greater than the want of using Linux. Some of those wants being things like the Adobe suite, right? For a lot of people, Adobe Suite is a want. If Adobe is used in your job, obviously, that's a need unless you, changed another job. For a lot of people, it's something like a certain video game. They play Valorant. They play Fortnite. They play League. They play... I'm pretty sure the latest Battlefield doesn't support Linux. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. What is it? Let's just check. Latest Battlefield. Because I feel like EA explicitly blocked it with Battlefield 6, or with their new anti-cheat. Battlefield 6 on Linux cannot be played. Okay, cool. I was right about that one. When they changed over to, EA Javelin, they ended up not supporting Linux with their old anti-cheat system, which I feel like they were on BattleEye before. What anti-cheat did EA use before Javelin? EAC. EAC or Punkbuster mostly. Yeah, okay. Either way, if you're like a one game Andy, right? You play Valorant, you play Battlefield, you play whatever your one game happens to be. If that's your only game, like going from Windows to Linux means no game. Now, you could say, you could have a second machine, or you could dual boot, or you could play on console. And yeah, all these things are valid. But is the value of swapping over to Linux for you worth going through that hoop? And for a lot of people, frankly, it isn't. So they end up staying on Windows. Fortnite would be another Roblox now is another one, but I believe Roblox nowadays you can't play on Linux. Maybe you can still do the Android version. Either way, I'm getting distracted by examples. Fortnite is a really popular game. That's my point here. And if you have Fortnite on Linux, if you can play Fortnite on Steam Deck, on just, preferably not just on the Steam Deck, but on Linux in general, then that would be another reason just crossed off the list. That would be another one of those points where it's like, I can't play Fortnite. And here's the thing about if Epic Games does come to Linux, that is another company to the saying, we're okay to support Linux. And that might by itself not be a major deal, but every single slight movement gets the ball rolling. And eventually you hit this point where it's no longer about companies saying, do we want to support Linux? It's, we're gonna support Linux. how many people are on the platform. Right now, we're still in in those early stages, but companies have to actively say, we're going to do this because we think there is a platform here. When the platform is there, there's no more thought. It's just, this is the thing you do. How valuable is the platform? How much support is it going to get? Do I think we're ever going to get to that point? I don't know. I legitimately don't know, because I didn't think we'd get to the point where we are now. We're at a point now where, you know, you can play most games natively on Linux. Yes, obviously your anti-cheat stuff is a problem, but outside of that, like, I don't even, like, I just buy a video game and it just works now. I don't know the last time that I bought a game and it was just unplayable. Outside of games that I bought that were just unplayable on PC in general. I think the last... What was the last... You know, I don't even think I've had to return a game because of Linux. Like, any game that I was interested in, I don't buy games on launch, right? Like, I don't like paying full price for a game. So usually by the time I buy a game, all those problems are dealt with. There have been games that I wanted to play which had problems at launch. Persona 5 Royal, for example, where it had one of Denuvo, one of the big bullshit DRM systems, and it had a problem where the game would crash on launch. The problem with Denuvo and Proton is different Proton versions are treated as different installs of Linux. And Denuvo counts the number of PCs the software is installed on. This is a major problem Denuvo has that they need to resolve. And I kinda wish that that problem got resolved, because testing Proton versions with Denuvo games is a fucking nightmare. Because it will be like, oh, well, you can't play your single player game you bought because Denuvo. Fuck you. Fuck you, Denuvo. Well, people have... You know, it's always funny with Denuvo. A new version will come out and be like, this is uncrackable, this is unbreakable. All games that use Denuvo are now protected. And then like 6 months later, someone cracks it. I think Denuvo, there was like a thing I heard about recently. Denuvo cracked again. Yeah, like 3 months ago, the latest version, as of that point, had been cracked again. Every time we have this new Denuvo that comes out and it's unbreakable, it gets cracked because it's software, and eventually, especially if you like start talking about how powerful it is, how unbreakable it is, that's a challenge. That's just a challenge for people that have nothing better to do with their time. So that game had problems on launch. If you tried to change stuff too much, it would eventually lock you out of the game, which made testing it a little bit annoying. Eventually, those problems got dealt with, and then, you know, it's mostly just been fine. To my understanding, let's find out right now. P5 Royal Proton DB. I'm going to guess there's like a gold. What has it got? What are we working with? We are on a platinum. Yeah, okay. So it was literally unplayable at launch, and now it's platinum. I don't know what the problem was. I think it was some, like, rendering issue, something like that. But the other thing about when we have problems like that, every time one of those problems gets dealt with, it's one less game in the future that is going to have that same problem. I think Forza Horizon 6 also had some issues. Granted, I haven't played that, and I don't know. There's too many games that I'd be interested in playing, and then I go play a JRPG, or I play Monster Hunter Wilds, and then you don't see me for a couple of months. Yeah. So, whilst I might be excited to play some of these games, I don't end up getting to some of them. But, every time we get a new handheld, every time we get a new company that is shipping Linux out of the box, every time we get a new game launcher natively supporting Linux, even if, you know, not a lot of games on the platform support Linux, or, you know, maybe not all of them even work properly in Proton, it's one more step along that path. It is one more step along that path to the point where eventually it's not even a question, where you can just install Linux, you can just install Windows, and pretty much should just be good. I believe Epic hired anti-cheat dev Linux. They're also working, 2 months ago, they're working on better Linux support for Epic. Now, obviously, their anti-cheat system already supports Linux. Like, they could enable it if they wanted to with their own games. This is more about general other people. However, it would be nice. It would be nice if we got more support on Linux. We'll have to wait and see. I don't know. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't, eventually Fortnite dies, people move on to another game, and hopefully that game doesn't have crazy anti-cheat. And, you don't have to worry about it.